In this video, I will show you what the if function does, how to write it, and some examples of how to use it in different scenarios. The if function allows you to perform different actions based on whether a certain condition is true or false. For example, you can use the if function to check if a student passed or failed a test, or if a product is in stock or not. Okay, so here is the syntax of the if function. The very first element of this syntax is the logical test. The logical test is a value expression that can be evaluated to be true or false. Next, we have the value if true. The value if true is the value that is returned if the logical function is true. And the value if false is the value that is returned in the cell if the logical test that we had at the beginning is false. So we're going to look at some few examples to actually help us understand the if function. So the very first example is this list of 10 students with their annual averages rated over 20. So the class council says that here is the criteria for the class council. If a student has an average of 10 or above, the chosen student is promoted. In the case where the student has an average of below 10, then the student has to repeat. So we're going to use the if function to conduct our class council. So we start with the equal sign. Then we write our if function. Now, the logical test will be, we are going to test if this cell in B2, if that cell is greater or equal to 10. If it is greater or equal to 10, that's the logical test. We insert our comma or if your computer is formatted in French, then you insert your semicolon, then you write the value if true, and the value if true in this case is promoted. We insert our comma or our semicolon, and we write the value in the case where it is false. In this case, it's repeat. And we always put the text in inverted commas. So we close our bracket and we press enter. So we see John is going to repeat. So I do a copy for all the others and actually see from this list those who are promoted and those who repeat. For example, Simplis has 14.28, is promoted to the next class. So this is the very basic formula for the if function. Now, let us go to another example where the if function is a bit sophisticated. In the case where we are going to embed if functions. So the if function is going to carry another if function inside. In this case, we still have the same 10 names of students who scored in and the marks they scored in biology. So we are going to use this grade sheet here to get the grade for each student for their biology marks. So we start again with our if function. We insert our equal sign and we write our if function. So our logical test will be if 32. So first of all start with A. If 32, that is B2, is greater or equal to 90, then the student will have an A grade. In the other case, so now we need to test also for 80, 70, 60, and the rest. So that's why we're going to use another if function inside this if function. So I write again if, I open my bracket, if B2 is greater or equal to 80, the student will have a B grade. Semicolon or comma. I still write again if B2 is greater or equal to 70, the student will have a C grade. I still continue. If B2 is greater or equal to 60, semicolon, O, comma, what grade would the student have? A D. And finally, if B2 is less than, in this case, is less than, so below 60, is less than 60, semicolon, the student will have an F. So I put it in inverted commas, an F. So I need to close my bracket. The first bracket is to close this last if function. The next will close the corresponding if functions until we close the last one and we press enter. So from what we are seeing, John has 32 and his grade is F. So I can copy and drag down for the rest. I'll actually see this person has 77. So we saw here 77, and above here we have C, and so on. So we have used the is function to determine the grade of each student. I hope I have given you a basic understanding of the if function. So here is your assignment. So in this case, we have some products, the price, the quantity, and the status. So the simple assignment here is for you to write here if the quantity, that is this column, if the value in this column is greater than 0, we are going to write in stock. If it is equal to 0, we are going to write out of stock. So that is your assignment to try to test your knowledge of the if function.